It's try to tell you the Browns are the worst team in that division.
Well,
I
technically,
tr
it's Cincinnati.
okay, I get you. I
I'm
tried to
just
tell you
taking
though.
I'm taking
I
my points where I can
I
get them,
I
but
did not trust the Stefanski Watson relationship. I came out very strongly. I don't know if you're on TikTok or not, but
nope.
I do these TikTok. I don't know if you know this or not. Sometimes when I go to work out during my work week or weekend or whatever, I'll go out, I'll take my chair, I'll go on a stroll. I do Brandon's Road on the road in front of the people where we TikTok on the road, on the sidewalk, talking all things sports. And I did
hmm
one where I was talking about Mr. Quarterback number 4, the Cleveland Browns, when
hmm
the new allegation that came out against them.
Yeah,
And
you can read my thoughts in WTS there, but I'm just
the
going to say this. I don't think uh people who are responsible that most people would normally think would be responsible could be responsible hypothetically. So read into that what you may.
so I think two things can be true. Number one is I don't think he should be out on the field. I didn't think he should be out on the field against Jacksonville. I think he should, do what the Texans did. Basically, you sit him until you find out what the verdict is. However, I will say this again: two things can be true. One is I don't think that Stefanski and Watson. I don't think the scheme works. I
hmm
think Deshaun Watson wants to be in a free wide shotgun, 11 personnel. Stefanski wants to be more of the 12 personnel under center, play action, bootleg pass. We saw that obviously last year.
Yeah.
But in saying that, I also don't think the last couple weeks Watson has not been as bad. The offensive line is just absolutely awful. And I tried telling people before the year the loss of Callahan as the offensive line coach was so underrated and not talked about. I
Yeah.
knew it was going to be an issue. I told
The
people this.
defense has been a
Nobody wanted
shocker
to
to
listen to
me
me.
more than
Well, the
anything.
D, let me say something about the defense. The defense was not as good as you people thought they were last year. They were
Yeah, they
historically good at
at
home.
home,
On the
but terrible
road,
on the road. And the
they
funny
give
thing
30
is,
points a
so a
game,
team
which
in your
tells you they're
division that
not
your
that good
Eagles
of a
is in,
defense.
the team that Dallas has been, they were really great at home last year and then bad on the road. They've been better on the road this year than they have been at
Well,
home.
and so that to me tells me that you're not actually a great football team. You're just great in moments. However, I will say this for the life of me. Okay, so my birthday was on Sunday, and
hmm
you don't know this or not. So this is the first time I'm telling you this. My favorite team, Philadelphia Eagles, have played on my birthday two times. One of
Oh,
them was Sunday against Tampa. The other one was 2013 in Denver against Peyton Manning.
oh,
We got our
ooh.
ass destroyed 49 to nothing against Denver, and then we got our ass destroyed 33 to 16 by Baker Mayfield.
Dude, you just brought up a memory for me. I was at my late aunt and my widowed uncle's house watching a game. It was the Browns and Denver, Peyton Manning. I think Colt McCoy was the quarterback or it was
Oh God.
Whedon. But it's like just, for me, like, that just knowing how bad that was ended up going before we left for home. I mean, it's just like
Okay.
people forget Peyton Manning was so great, man. I miss him as a
So
quarterback.
can I tell you, for my lifetime, every birthday weekend, the Eagles and Browns both get killed. Every birthday weekend, almost without fail. And I had to watch the two worst tackling teams in football try to tackle people on Sunday. It was a miserable experience. Thank God I turned 26, I guess. Anyway, I'm watching the end of the Browns game. I think you know what I'm talking about. It's the second to last play. It's the play before Watson gets sacked at the end of the game. There's like 50 seconds, maybe a minute on the clock. It's 4th and 3. Why are they running up to the line trying to get the Raiders to jump off sides? Why aren't you either running your field goal kicker out or calling it timeout and taking the field goal?
Did
You
they have a
still,
timeout at that
they
point?
had
Because I
all
don't know.
three.
They had.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, that's what you're trying to. I think I get the strategy, and
No,
I
there
don't
is no
think you. I
strategy
don't think.
because if you waste it, you don't get the fourth down. The game's over.
Well, if you don't get the fourth down and you don't jump off, don't no false start. If you try to get them to jump off sides because they're like a little on edge, I get that part of it. But I do agree with you. It was probably not the. It was not the right move.
Do it once and then call time. Don't do it 6 times. They wasted a full minute. So I'm losing my mind. Why is no one talking about it? It was the worst clock management I've ever seen.
I number one, I think they made the wrong hire at OC with Ken Dorsey. Let's just say that. And I know that he's not the one calling the plays, but I did put a note in the Where Things Stand column. And I'm actually going to pull it up right now and attribute the tweeted source to who was it that put it out? I think it was not Brendan Gulick, but if you'll just give me a moment, I want to make sure I have it because people don't realize how stressful it can be on, especially how Stefanski phrased it. Uh, with he's worn out at the end of the game, and that's why I've been hoping that he would pass it off. But I have a feeling that the Ken Dorsey hire was not driven by him. But other than that, I mean, let me just pull it up.
Yeah,
Let's see where is
the
it.
firing of
So
Van
this was
Pelt
from
was
Keith
weird as
Britton
OC.
when Stefanski shared his thoughts on 923 with Ken Carmen and Anthony Lima. This is back on January 20th of 2023. Quote, calling plays is exhausting. The fun part for me is putting together the game plan, working with the coaches Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, trying to put our guys in position. When it comes to game day, you try to really get out of the way as much as you can. In terms of the play calling, it's exhausting. You get through those games, you're making decisions every 35 seconds, both on offense and defense. You're spent after a game, end quote. And it was funny that Chip Kelly, now the Ohio State offensive coordinator, he left his head coaching job at UCLA to take that
Well,
gig.
part of that was because of college recruiting and the
Yeah,
NIL and
but he
all
said
that.
something funny recently. He's like, he was asked the question of, what's the difference between, being an OC and a head coach? And he was like, this was a candid answer. I have time to go to the bathroom between series. I'm like, oh boy, like it's that bad.
So, okay. Um, So there's a very interesting game, not this week, though I do want to talk about that game because I actually think you're wrong. I think the Browns pull out the upset tomorrow at Washington. And
Oh, you do?
I do. And I'm not just saying that because I want the Commanders to lose, obviously, because
Mhm.
they're in my division. I told you before the year I thought the Commanders were a better overall football team than the Dallas Cowboys. That was the biggest disagreement we
You
had on
you
where
might be
things
right on
stand.
that
I
potentially.
I said Jayden Daniels was going to come in, and I thought Philadelphia was I'm the only person in Philadelphia who's not out on Sirianni. And by the way, I'll write about this and where things stand, but I don't want BB anywhere near my football team in Philadelphia. I want no part of we're on to Cincinnati. No part of it. Zero
It's
part of it
Belichick's not going to go to Philadelphia. I
at all.
don't think that's out of the cards. I think it's tough to say because you don't know. I think if there's going to be some team desperate enough just to
No,
even get him in for one
I'm
season.
telling you who is going to be where Belichick is going to be the head coach next year. Are you ready?
Tell me.
You want to guess which
Nope.
division?
Nope.
Jacksonville.
Oh yeah, now that makes sense. Oh, that makes
I'm telling you
100%
right
sense.
now, if they lose this game coming up against the Colts, Doug Peterson may be back in Kansas City getting Andy Reid ice cream by week 7.
Dude, I tore into the Jaguars and they were one of the voice narratives. I was very happy with what I did with that one. If you folks notice it, let me know.
Okay, anyway, we got the Browns and Eagles coming up in 2 weeks. And I said, believe it or not, even though it's a week 5 bye, I thought the bye happened at the best time for my team personally. We are a lot like the Browns. We're very banged up on the offensive line. We're going to get AJ Brown back. We're going to get Devontae Smith back. A very interesting game because if the Browns lose to Washington, both of these teams' seasons are essentially on the line. They're in week 6. If Philly loses to Cleveland, Sirianni may be out of a job.
Isn't Philly right now 2-2 though?
We are 2-2, but the pressure is mounting in Philadelphia, not only on the head coach, but the quarterback, who I
I
actually
that's the thing
think,
I would like. Here's the thing: Sirianni can't control those turnovers. Jalen
well,
Hurts, and I'm not. Jalen
here,
Hurts is still a really great
here's the thing.
quarterback,
He's
but
good.
he's been having
I
turnover
actually
problems these
think
last two
I
years.
actually think he's played pretty well this year outside of the turnovers. And the
Yeah,
last
that
couple weeks,
exactly. That's the part that's killed you is the
the last
turnovers,
couple
and you
weeks
need
it's been
to.
the fumbles. I
Yeah,
mean, that's
exactly. It's not
it's not
necessarily
even
been
the
picks; it's been the
interceptions, it's the
fumbles.
fumbles. It's
Yeah, exactly.
ridiculous.
It's like I don't know what's happened. Like it's just like the ball. It's not like he's got a lack of awareness with ball security, but is there like a tell where like people are able to like properly tomahawk it out, or
I
what is he
I
doing?
I think
Different.
it's his eyes are dropping and his football is dropping lower to his body when he's in the pocket. It's away from his arm.
Mhm.
And obviously they're getting that strip. And now Wayne Johnson being out has hurt the team as well. There's a statistic out there that I don't have right in front of me, but it's alarming. The Eagles' history, no matter who the quarterback is, no matter who the coach is, Wayne Johnson in versus Wayne Johnson out. It's like a 20-25 game difference. I'm not even
Oh
joking.
wow.
Um, I mean, it's like they're like 8-22 without him, and 20 games above 500 with him. It's amazing. Um, but I do think again they're going to get AJ Brown back. They're going to get Devontae Smith back. I still think this team can right the ship. 10-11 wins, probably win the division. Washington's schedule though is insanely easy if they can get by this Browns game. But this is why I say I think the Browns have a good shot as of this time recording tomorrow to pull out the
Rookie
upset.
QB, right?
Rookie QB Jayden Daniels. What did he struggle with week one? Was against the blitz that Todd Bowles defense. He has
Oh,
not played as good of a defense since week one that he will play against a Jim Schwartz blitzing team. And the Browns have the corners, by the way, to match up without Washington secondary.
yeah. And I think this is what the second of a 3 game swing on the road for the Browns.
Yeah,
If you can win
and
this one, that
they
that changes things
they
completely.
again, if the Browns lose this game against Washington, that Philly game, obviously it's not going to be flexed at this point to Sunday night, but that's like that's season on the wine
Yeah.
game for
I
both
want
teams, in
to
my
ask you this
opinion.
question though. I don't think Stefanski's getting fired. I think he stays no matter what, especially if Watson gets suspended and you can wipe the slate clean of the guarantees. And I'm not saying like, that's what needs to happen. I think if it does happen, that would probably be the best thing for the Browns franchise. I think Kevin Stefanski still stays. It's not like a situation where you get extended and fired. Do you think that's the case? Because I want an outsider's perspective from a Philly perspective.
So let me put it this way. I have not been the biggest fan of Stefanski, but whatever he does clearly works because the players rally around him. I
Mhm.
don't think he's a great head coach. I think that people like him. He's obviously mild mannered. He wins games. His in-game decision making drives me absolutely insane. And
I
this is
think
the
he
other
needs to pass off the duties
well,
to a
this
real
is the
offensive
one thing I don't
coordinator.
get.
That's the thing.
Why is he so good the opening drive of the game and they don't adjust the rest of the game? That's
Say
coaching to
hello
me.
to 2019 Freddie Kitchens.
That
And
is, see, but that's on Stefanski. That is coaching. You can't start off the game the first two drives of the game getting 10 points and then get what 3 points the rest of the game.
the main thing is that Watson has, and I said this, no pocket awareness, no internal clock. It looks like his psyche's damaged, just like from afar. Like, I get that people keep saying he's getting better, but it's like he's going to need to go somewhere else. And I don't think Cleveland's a fit for him. He needs
He's
to
not a
go.
starter. I'll tell you that
He's
he's
not.
not a
He's a
starter.
backup at this point. Like you gave up and all that other capital for a guy who's essentially now going to be a backup, given everything that's happened for the last what half
Okay,
decade now, dating
so
back to 20.
I'm going to say this because I know you disagree with me a little bit on this. Everybody, Baker, Watson comparison, yada yada. Can I just say this because I think people in hindsight are having hindsight.
I was always on the Baker
Okay,
train, and
I
you know that.
understand,
Okay,
but it doesn't matter if they were getting Watson or not. Baker was not coming back that football season. Baker was done. Stefanski made it public. Baker made it public. Baker even pretty much issued a trade request saying, I don't want to be in Cleveland anymore
wasn't that after the whole Watson pursuit though?
because of Kevin Stefanski. The relationship was done. So even if they pursued Watson and didn't get him, Baker was not coming back to the team. That was already public. What I will say is this Baker, yes, he did come off the street with the Rams, win that game against the Raiders. That was incredible. But he found himself in a very good situation in Tampa with two great receivers, good offensive line. The same reason why Brady went there in 2020. It is the exact reason why Sam Darnold is flourishing in Minnesota because he is in the same scheme
I'd
with the
say
same
more so with the
weapons.
wide receivers with Darnold, but I am not
No,
convinced
it's
he's
because
not going
Kevin
to.
O'Connell was a great coach. He won a game with
Yeah.
Kellen Mond.
Oh my God, I forgot about that.
So, yes, it is because of the receivers, but it's also because he is a great coach. That is also why Baker's flourishing. If Baker was in, if let's say Washington didn't drop Jayden Daniels, if Baker was doing this in Washington, I don't think he'd be doing this.
Nope, not with that O line. I
So,
don't think that O
so,
line's
so
good.
that's my point. Baker's in a great situation. The situation in Tampa is better than what the situation was in Cleveland 2 years ago.
Yeah, and it's shocking. I mean, just to see,
By the way,
I
Jared
knew,
Goff finally gets a good offensive line. Finally, in his second year in Detroit, gets a star offensive coordinator, Ben Johnson. Has
mhm.
weapons. By the way, pitches a perfect game. Jared
Yeah,
Goff has
that was amazing. The
been
first for a long, long time. 18 of
always been
18
an
and
underrated
tack on
quarterback to
Amon
me.
Ross St. Brown's touchdown throw to him. 19 of 19.
I think Jared Goff, for the record, is the best quarterback in the NFC. I know that's debatable. I know
No.
you're a big Stafford guy. I like Goff.
I'm not Stafford has been passed up, obviously. That's one thing. Even, I love Stafford, but he's been passed up in the NFC. But I'm just trying to think through the divisions real quick because it's now I gotta think
The only
about it.
argument you could tell me is Hurts or Love, and I take Goff at this point, or Mayfield, but I would take Goff.
What about Purdy?
No, I'm taking Goff.
Hmm. Now you've got my brain working because I
Dude,
don't know if I
I'm
could
not a
agree with
Brock
that.
Purdy guy, and I may be biased because I can't stand Shanahan. I can't stand the
Well,
Niners.
I did mention this in all fairness. He did get the best out of Cleveland, Brian Hoyer, out of Jimmy G. He's gotten the best out of Brock Purdy. I'm forgetting one other quarterback in
He
between,
did, and he can't beat Mahomes in the Super Bowl. Oh well, go cry about it. We got screwed. No, you lost the game. Go cry.
Yeah.
The Niners are annoying me. Oh, Brady, I don't even get it. Pay
I mean,
me.
Kirk Cousins looked good, but I mean, he's obviously not a, I don't just don't think he's
500
above
yards? Are
Gronk.
you kidding me?
Yeah. That unfortunately didn't make this WTS edition, but I mean,
That was
the
unbelievable.
way that
By
I'm
the way,
looking
I
at
did
this
have
now,
Atlanta.
you may
I,
not be off the mark, man. I didn't even think about it like that.
by the way, as you know, I've also defended them picking Michael Penix because I think they're only get a year or two out of Kirk Cousins,
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean,
and
I get the pick. I was just surprised that they didn't go for something else, but the pick made sense at least to some extent.
well, and
Even
now they
though
need a pass rush. Whether they saw that at the trade deadline or free agency, I don't know.
I think it'll be
Can
the trade deadline, to be honest, because we've seen a much more active market after 2020.
can
We've
I
seen the
go
market.
back to
Okay,
the
yep.
AFC East real quick?
Hmm.
Can we talk Buffalo? Because I did not think they'd be this good.
I'd rather
I
talk
thought
Tua
that
right now
I
because
thought
he's
they'd be good. I thought it would take time for them to implement some of those new pieces. Shakir's
he what is it? Tom Brady, Peyton Manning over the years, whatever quarterback I'm trying to think of. Like, if you are able to be a franchise quarterback, you elevate the talent around you, and Allen has proven he can do that. And
yeah, well,
with
their defense has been better than I thought. They lost a lot of pieces on
they
defense.
had
They've had
you
injuries
finally
on
had the bill
defense.
come due with the big quarterback contract. And speaking of big quarterback contracts, Tua Tagovailoa, he suffered yet
Needs
another
to retire.
concussion.
When I
You have
saw
guys like Hall of Famers and other players saying you need to step away. This is not about the Dolphins. Like, I'm not going to slam the Dolphins here. Like, this is on a human level. You have had what, 4, 5, 6 concussions, something like that. Denzel Ward needs to retire too. He's had nearly as many. But Tua, like, look, he's got 100 million on the table, and he would have to be medically flagged to collect that and then retire. But right now, even right now, he has enough money as long as he saves it and spends it wisely and invests it wisely, where his family is set up for generations to come.
thing is, Sean sounds like he is, symptom free. He's clear because that he's
I
on IR. He can't return.
And that was the right move to put him on IR so you didn't rush the process, especially given how sensitive this is. But
Yes.
like, I love Tua, and I was always on that Tua bandwagon. And I was like, when people were hating, I'm like, I told you so.
I think a lot of that was Mike McDaniel. And by the way, how valuable does he look now? Because I never thought in my life I'd be betting New England -1.5 against the Dolphins because they can't move the ball.
But I mean, to be fair though, it's just like, I mean, Tagovailoa, I mean, he's like a big part of that offense. And, Skylar Thompson isn't it, obviously. No
Well, neither is
disrespect to the
Tim
guy. It's just
Boyle,
like,
neither is Snoop Huntley. I mean,
yeah, it's
we
just
talked
tough
about it.
though, because Tua helps drive that offense with
Yes.
Tyreek, Waddle, Mostert, Chan, etc. And it's just so sad to see that this guy, like, coming out of college, he had that hip injury or whatnot. And then now it's been all about the concussions or even I think one or two rib injuries here and there. But it's just like I'm not. He needs his family is going to need him more than the game of football needs Tua, and that's why I say he needs to step away. And
All
it'll
right,
suck for Dolphins fans. It's going to suck if he has to. But
staying in
you
the
take in
AFC East.
mind, take in stock, he's a human being too, and his life is more important than any football game.
Staying in the AFC East. How long is it going to take for Devontae Adams to be a Jet?
Um, Good question. I want to say by 2 weeks from now, but if I know anything about Mark Davis, I'll say his stubbornness will prevent that.
To me, I picked the Jets to win the AFC East this year. I went out on a whim. I said if they're healthy, Aaron Rodgers is back. I thought there'd be a slight regression from Buffalo, and even if Tua was healthy, I didn't trust Miami late in the year when they have to go to Green Bay and go to Cleveland and the Jets and all these cold places. Um,
I
I
have an idea
actually
to throw
think.
out there, actually.
Go ahead.
We know there was a whole T. Higgins saga with Cincinnati, and he won't be able to re sign with anybody, even if he were to be traded by the trade deadline with anybody until the offseason. What if you took a big swing if you're Cincinnati, flipped Devontae for T. Higgins, and also sent over a second round pick? Would you do that?
That's interesting because they don't have a run game. They're in a situation right now like Dallas where they don't have a run game. It's just Burrow throwing darts. If I'm Cincinnati, if you know T. Higgins is not going to re-sign, I
He's
probably
not.
would do that. Which is why I think they're pushing all their chips to the table this year. I heard someone say, and I don't know if you sent this to me or not, I couldn't remember, but it's very possible Mike Brown could say, if the Bengals go out and win the Super Bowl, I'm not paying anybody but Joe Burrow, and they just go into complete trash because Mike Brown's
I
not
mean,
going to
Joe
pay him.
Burrow's already been paid, and they're going to pay Jamar Chase. You
Well,
do not
are
want to.
they? That's what I'm saying. If they win the Super Bowl, is he going to be like, I don't have to pay Jamar Chase?
Oh, he will have to. He will have to because if you have Jamar Chase gone, you're going to have a very unhappy Burrow, and I don't think you're going to want to deal with that.
That's that's a good point. Okay, so I want to go to the NFC North. I want to ask you two questions.
Mm-hmm.
One of them is obviously about Chicago. I was very high on the Bears going into the year. You know how
Mm-hmm.
high I drafted Caleb Williams in our fantasy draft. That has not worked
Mm-hmm.
out. Neither,
Yeah.
neither has none of my fantasy picks. If you're watching on video, I'm putting a fist in the air. I am 0-4, probably about to go 0-5 in fantasy. Who would have thought my top two starting running backs this week would be Kareem Hunt and Trey Sermon?
Oh,
Because
dude,
Joe
I've had the
Mixon's
injury
out.
bug hit me pretty well too. I lost Pacheco.
I mean, Joe Mixon's out and Gibbs on a bye, but I digress. Listen, I think people comparing Caleb Williams to Bryce Young and Jayden Daniels to CJ Stroud is unfair. Caleb has gotten
Yeah.
better every single week. What I did not realize is, I don't know if you even realize this, in the offseason, Jackson Smith and Jigba was on some radio show on CBS. They asked him about his former OC, Shane Waldron, who's now the OC in Chicago, and he said, next question.
Oh, I think I remember barely hearing about this,
So
but it rings a bell. Oh God.
the Chicago offense, I mean, their offensive line got worse. I did not expect that. They finally got back to the run game. Caleb Williams looks like he's starting to overcome. I don't think I overrated the Bears. I think I just overlooked the fact that they have terrible offensive coaching that I thought was going to be at least confident.
I mean, it was a surprise when they brought back Eberflus, especially with some
Well,
internal
not really though,
affairs
because their
last year.
defense was playing well, and that's why
Yeah.
you could see
Oh,
the defense. It's why the Jets
yeah.
brought back Saleh.
Yeah.
The
And
defense.
here's the thing with Williams. My hesitancy with him, he's a great quarterback, and I'm not going to deny that. It was just how he handled himself maturity wise at the end of his USC tenure, especially skipping, what was it, the USC UCLA post game presser and all that. That kind of rubbed me the wrong way because if you're trying to prove you're going to be a franchise quarterback, when you face adversity at the NFL level, how do you handle that? But so far, he's been doing all right. But again, that was more of a me thing than anything else. But I was never going to deny he was going to be talented. Like he has looked talented, like in college and so far, you can see the flashes. I just want to make sure, if you're Chicago, if there's times that get tough, does he retreat into his shell like he did at USC, or is he able to still face the music, face the crowds, and be able to be the face of the franchise? We'll see over time. Where obviously he's just a rookie right now, but yeah, that was my main hesitancy with Caleb Williams and why I was kind of just a little bit off on him, but I never would deny that he is a good quarterback.
Okay, so I thought going into the year more so than the AFC North, the NFC North was actually the best division in football. I thought Minnesota was going to be the fourth place team, and I thought they could win 8 or 9 games because I thought Darnold was going to have a good year, and if not, I thought McCarthy was going to have a very good year, and then obviously he got hurt. I want to ask you about Green Bay because I had said going into the year, I think me and you might have had this conversation. I don't remember. I know I had
We
conversations with people
might
on this
have.
because I had said going into the year, a lot of people were very high on the Packers because of what they did. And I said the NFL is not linear progression. It's not the
Dude,
NBA.
I was high on Detroit, and then I had Green Bay as like a wild card.
See, some people had Green Bay going to the Super Bowl. I didn't even have
Mm-mm,
Green Bay in the
mm-mm, mm-mm.
playoffs. I thought Caleb Williams was going to come in and obviously do what Jayden Daniels done in Washington. But I looked at Green Bay and they're, 0-2 with Jordan Love, 2-0 with Malik Willis. But I looked at that team and I said, what do they have in their own division that is the best? Best quarterback? In my opinion, no. Best running back? No. Best receivers?
Mm.
No.
Who
Best
would you say is
offensive
the best
line?
running back in the division? Because I don't know if I'd put Gibbs or Montgomery right now, like since they have a
I would
timeshare.
say Gibbs. I like
Gibbs.
DeAndre Swift, and I like Aaron Jones. I like them all better than Josh Jacobs. I think
I think
Green
at
Bay
this
is the
point, like I think Aaron Jones, that's a coin toss, but yeah,
no.
that's a fair assessment. That is fair.
Aaron Jones is really good. I really like
I would
Aaron
take
Jones.
Jacobs over Swift though. That's the only one. That's the only
Well,
one I
the
would
Swift I
definitely
saw
do.
in Philly last year. Again, it's that offensive line. I don't know. That was a okay. Receivers, no. Offensive line, no. Defensive line, no. Secondary, no. What do they have that's the best in their division? They have nothing.
I don't think so. Yeah, now that you
That
mention it
was
like
my
that.
argument towards Green Bay.
Hmm.
You can't win the division if you're, the way Sam Darnold is playing right now, let's face it, right now, today, Jordan Love is the third best quarterback in that division. Today.
Yeah, let's just if you're the Vikings fans, you better hope that those first 4 weeks weren't the Carolina Redux of 2021. You better
Web
hope it wasn't.
Weapons wise, if you combine receivers, backs, and tight ends, this was my odd take. You might disagree with me. I think Green Bay has the worst out of the rest of their three teams in the division. Minnesota
Oh,
to me has
definitely.
Minnesota to me
Definitely.
has the best. Then I would go Detroit, then Chicago, but I think it's
I
close.
would go Chicago and then Detroit in terms of
No,
weapons. One of
Justin
those two
Jefferson,
first
Addison. If TJ
because of the
Hawkinson
running
comes
backs.
back,
I'm weighing in the running backs here.
well,
That's how I'm
I
doing it.
am too. Again, I like Aaron Jones. Hawkinson's going to come back. Jefferson, Addison. I love Minnesota's weapons.
Where's Jones in terms of just rushing this year? Because I have
I
not
think
seen
he's
him
getting about
any.
90 yards and a touchdown a game.
Oh, wait. Josh Jacobs is, well, hold on here. Where he's right. Jacobs is ahead of Jones.
Well, some of that is because Malik Willis in Indianapolis let Josh Jacobs run all over him.
Yeah. So you got the top 10 are Derrick Henry in Baltimore, Jordan Mason, San Fran, Barkley in Philly, Kamara in New Orleans, Jonathan Taylor in Indy, J.K. Dobbins, healthy-ish, in LA with the Chargers. Josh Jacobs, 8 yards ahead of number 8. Aaron Jones, 329 to 321. Lamar Jackson being the quarterback. We'll take him out of that discussion at 308. The number 9 running back being Brian Robinson Jr. With 307. And then Chuba Hubbard just barely squeaking by James Conner.
So basically, the bottom line is I know our buddy Alex Wilcox is going to be mad at me, but I don't.
Oh, he is.
These Packers, yes, they overcame a lot last year, but also Chicago was not as good. Minnesota was obviously not as good. Like, I think Jordan Love's going to have a good year. I kept saying it, Sean, I don't care how good he played. He lost to Dustin Crum in a bowl
He
game.
did, and that's what I was going to bring up next.
I
Is that
can't get it out of my
remember
head.
that I can't, me neither. That was why I was just very hesitant about him, especially last year. It's just like you trade up into the first round for the guy. I know the Packers have done this in the past. Obviously, got Rodgers, got him, but it's like, bro, I'm like thinking in my mind, you know, with especially when you brought up Malik Willis and the starts that he's had recently, it's like, is LaFleur a system like quarterback based thing
Same with
or what?
Shanahan.
like
It's that
because
system.
that's
It's the
that's the thing. It's
O'Connell,
like, yeah,
Shanahan, LaFleur, and Stefanski should be in that conversation.
but Watson is so bad that it's just like he's probably, if he was with any other coach, he'd be.
Like that clip from the Browns podcast? If so, make sure you go down there and hit that subscribe button. While you're down there hitting the subscribe button, make sure to also hit the notification bell so you never miss another upload. And make sure you check out all the other clips from the Browns podcast right here on YouTube.